And at forward, number 81, Marian Hossa. And now, the starting lineups for Team Czech Republic, coached by Josef Jandek. In goal, number 34, Peter Mrazek. On defense, number 33, Jakub Nakladal. On defense, number 62, Andre Schuster. At forward, number 14, Tomasz Plekanec. At forward, number 18, Andre Palat. And at forward, number 83, Ales Hemsky. In celebration of the World Cup of Hockey and in the spirit of international competition, the teams will now exchange a commemorative banner. Please welcome Matthew Gauthier from Vaughan Kings Minor Midget AAA team representing the Czech Republic, and Cole Perfetti from the Hill Academy to join Tomasz Plekanec, captain of Team Czech Republic, and Andrzej Kopitar of Team Europe at center ice for today's ceremony. Good luck to both teams. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please stand if you're able to and remove your hats for the playing of the national anthem of the Czech Republic.
Toronto is the scene of the World Cup of Hockey 2016. If we were at the World Championship, Day 3 would mean tea and a nap and just another game. But at the condensed World Cup, Day 3, Game 2 is intensely important. The Czech Republic must win, and the Continental Crusaders from 8 different countries in Europe can almost seal a trip to the semis with a victory today. Let's meet the starting goaltenders. Jaroslav Halak is a 31-year-old Slovak. He got a shutout in Game 1, his 6th in 45 career international games. Peter Mrazek, the Red Wings' future star and former Ottawa 67, takes over from Michael Neuvert for the Czechs, for whom he was a World Junior star. What are you looking for early in this game, Craig Simpson?
Well, I think, like the boys in the desk were talking about, it's how the Czech will play. I thought they played a great start to the game against Canada and just got overwhelmed. Ralph Kruger's had lots of positive energy on that bench, and I think the European team, Jim, will be even better today than they were in Game 1.
And they start with their top line that played an awful lot. Didn't get any points, but they were excellent. That's Andrzej Kopitar with Marian Hossa and Tomas Tatar. Tomasz Plekanec of the Canadiens and the Czech Republic has new line mates to start this game. Ales Hemsky is on one wing, Andre Palat on the other. Back for the puck is number 62, Andre Schuster, as both teams start an early change, 25 seconds in.
Yeah, that's the one thing about these quick games, quick tournaments. Everybody's 25 to 30 seconds in off. Keep the pace of the game up.
Here's Jake Voracek in his first shift into the middle, and just missing the net was Milan Michalek with a wonderful opportunity for the Czechs. Opportunities like that they squandered early against Canada. From the blue line, Michael Kipney playing with Roman Polak. into Martin Hansel. His wingers are Voracek and McCulloch. They played with Plekanec in game number 1 for the Czechs. There's Mats Zuccarello, the Norwegian, the only Norwegian to make this team. Got to center, the play is stopped, and an early penalty for hooking is called on Jake Voracek, so Team Europe goes to the power play.
Well, exactly what the Czechs don't want. Here's what they do, though. That speed in the neutral zone, backing the D off the line, and this is a great opportunity for McCulloch that he just can't handle. The one thing coming back, though, these are needless penalties. One that he just got his stick in. Not much there, but the call went up. So what an opportunity for Anze Kopitar here in the power play of the European team.
They were 0 for 4 in their first game. Didn't need the power play goal, as it turned out. Might need one here. Kopitar, both a penalty killer, plays in the power play. Over 23 minutes in game number 1. Roman Josi to Kopitar, a slap pass across the ice. Vanek had to knock the puck down, fed it in front. Tatar can't come up with it. Marian Hossa's parked near the front of the net. Roman Josi, Vanek fires a shot, and Mrazek makes his first save with his blocker. Onto the puck is Michael Jordan. Young defenseman who played in Carolina part of last season advanced the puck. Josi of the Nashville Predators led this team in ice time in game number 1. Thomas Vanek moves in. Here's Hossa with a shot. Big rebound off Mrazek. And Thomas Tatar. Vanek made that, couldn't quite handle it. Josi can't hold the puck into the line. Kopitar is backing him up. Thomas Plekanec is the check, killing the penalty and chasing Kopitar. Still just less than a minute to go in the power play, and a second unit will come on.
Well, much like last night, a couple of really key penalty kill by the North American team allowed them to get into their game and get going, and Mrazek with 2 big saves to settle the Czechs down here on the penalty kill.
Streit fired the puck in. Mats Zuccarello in after it. Marian Gaborik is there with him. So is Franz Nielsen. Nino Niederreiter has his head in there in the battle on the boards. Europe wins it. Streit. Nielsen. Streit again with a shot. A rebound that came right to Gaborik, and his shot was stopped by a sharp Peter Mrazek. Gaborik again, patiently with the puck. Lots of experience on this European team. Zuccarello. Streit shoots, and Mrazek makes a nice save and stops playing.
Well, that's a settling feeling there when your goaltender comes in. His job is to make sure that you get the big save on the penalty kill, and Thomas Vanek, only one of 2 right-handed shots for this European team, gets the one-timer. Lots of setup to the outside. Marian Hossa with the quick shot, and Mrazek looking very solid. Eric Furlat is our official with the helmet cam today, and there's his view of Mrazek making a 3rd save.
Off the draw, Leon Draisaitl got the puck, and that glanced off a leg and just wide of the net. Dennis Seidenberg in the dying seconds of the penalty. Voracek is back on, but a hot shot from the blue line by Jannik Hansen is stopped by Mrazek, and so the Czechs get through the penalty to Voracek, and they're back at 5-on-5.
Well, you look at the Czech bench there. Now it's time to get on your horse offensively. You've been defending for the start of this game. Mrazek has shown that he's going to give you good support back there, and much like their first game, I thought just Canada's pace to the game was just too overwhelming. Overall, though, I agree with Kelly Rudy saying I didn't think they played that badly. Got to be positive here and get the game going in their direction.
Well, especially at the beginning, they fell apart a little bit after they were behind 5-0 after the second period, but especially in the second period. But in that first 10 minutes, had they buried a couple, it's a different game.
Absolutely. You saw in the pregame show the breakaway by Palat. They had a 2-man advantage for a short period of time, and it's those opportunities you have to take advantage of. The games go so quickly here, and as we mentioned, everybody is over the boards and back off. The pace of the game was at breakneck speed, and they're trying to get it back up here now.
Kopitar's back out with his regular line mates, Tatar and Hossa. Kopitar not only killed penalties, played the power play, played more than any other forward, but he won 58% of his faceoffs in game 1, too. Let's bring in Scott Oak.
All right, Jim, quickly, no one can clinch or be knocked out of the World Cup today, but the Americans have more than a passing interest in this Europe-Czech Republic game, clearly hoping for a Czech win, because if Team Europe wins, then Canada can eliminate the U.S. tomorrow night. It would be 2 and out for the USA. John Tortorella has said tomorrow night's game will be the championship game for the USA, but if Team Europe wins this afternoon, it's also a matter of survival.
Amazing how quickly everything can change. And all of these European players, the Czech Republic and the players from 8 different countries on Team Europe, are used to playing tournament hockey. They're used to this kind of thing in quick elimination games. Most of the European leagues have 2 or 3 breaks a season for tournaments, just like this one. Although not quite the same kind of players.
Real positive sense, though, with this group coming together.
Milan McCulloch trying to drive for the net, and a nice defensive play by Mark Streit against him. Back to the blue line, Kempny with a shot. There's a big rebound. Hansel had his stick lifted and couldn't get a shot. A couple of good chances for the Czechs, but they haven't been able to bury one here. Here's Mark Streit in, delays, shoots, ricochet in front of the net. Mrazek is down, and he's got gridlock all around him, but he's on top of the puck.
Now, this is what I mean about Team Europe. They can score. They've shown that in game 1. They come up the ice with a little bit of speed and precision. And the one thing about this group now, all of a sudden, people were looking at, well, would they come together? So many of these players, Jim, as you mentioned, here's their record internationally against the Czech Republic. When you're playing for a small country of France or Austria, Slovenia, not much of a chance to go up against one of the good European countries in international play. Now I think collectively as a group they feel that they're more of an equal type of a team and they've got a chance to win.
Franz Nielsen echoed those thoughts the other day. He was thrilled with finally getting a chance
to beat
some good teams and be competitive instead of just trying to hold your own and maybe lose 2-1.
And don't you think it really shows the style of play too? You don't have to be as boring a hockey and just try to clog up the neutral zone. These guys are able to open up the game and really try to dictate the game as opposed to survive it.
Well, if you look at this through the eyes of Vance Kopitar, he is the only NHL player, the only really skilled player on his Slovenian team. Here he's surrounded with a few others from other parts of Europe. Like Marian Gaborik, who has the puck.
They showed in game 1, Jim, as the Americans maybe underestimated them early. They took chances, they were over-aggressive, and the Europeans made them pay. 7 or 8 2-on-1 and odd man rushes in the first 2 periods alone.
And 1 3-on-2 so far in this game, but nothing like the 2-on-1s they got in the first one. Zdeno Chara was excellent in game 1, paired with another experienced Slovakian defenseman, Andrei Sekera. Roman Chervenka. His pass to David Pasternak, and he took the pass offside.
Well, there you see a little bit of what Martin Marcinski was talking earlier. They feel that they can get in on the European defense and start getting some territorial play. And that, to me, will be the real key here. Something that the Czechs, if they can get the cycle going down low, turn some pucks over, and then get shots from the points to try to create some offense here against the Europeans.
Dennis Seidenberg advanced the puck, tipped at center, no icing. Leon Draisaitl with Nino Niederreiter and Toby Reeder. The forward line for Team Europe. Pasternak, Roman Chervenka, and Michael Berner's into the lineup. Radek Faksa was hurt in game number 1. That centerman is out, and Berner, who was added when David Krejci got hurt, is into the lineup. He wears number 16. Seidenberg back, left the puck in the corner. Charging in, Michael Foley stole the puck. There's the shot from the point, and a rebound cleared away from in front of the net. Belmar was able to clear the puck away from the front of the net. That's Seidenberg battling there with it. Roman Josi comes up with a puck for Team Europe and chips it out through center. A race for it. Jannik Hansen forced Zdeněk McCulloch to get back in a hurry and get the puck, so no icing. And at the other end, Christian Ehrhoff cruises back. He's got lots of time. The Czechs are on a change. So is his own team. On comes Kopitar's line. And they've iced the puck. The play will come back into the European zone.
The 5th season is when kids dream big. That's why we're a proud sponsor of the World Cup of Hockey, with over 8,000 community teams across Canada.
We're right on cue. The Czechs win a battle in on the forecheck. Seidenberg tries to reverse it, and Belmar can't make the play. Jordan gets it to the front, and there's a good chance. That's what you're looking for. Traffic in front of Halak. Don't let him see the puck. Look for those second and third chances around the net.
Good NHL matchup here. Kopitar's line against Martin Hansel's. Roman Polak. Michael Kempney, he'd like to be an NHLer after this tournament. Headed to camp with the Chicago Blackhawks. Toronto's Milan McCulloch. Arizona's Martin Hansel. To the blue line, Kempney fires a shot and deflected in front into the corner. There's a penalty coming up. It's against Team Europe. Kempney with a wrist shot. Went off Hansel just wide of the net. McCulloch gets the puck. The extra attacker comes on. It's Plekanec for the goaltender on a delayed penalty call. Europeans get a hold of the puck, and the Czech Republic, with just one official shot on goal so far, will get a penalty. And it's Mark Streit who goes off for holding the stick. Czech Republic on the power play when we come back to the World Cup of Hockey in Toronto.
Earlier, it's fun coming to a tournament like this and feel like you have a chance to do something. Nielsen, a factor in Europe's win over the U.S., is from Denmark, a small hockey nation that loses consistently internationally, about the last 200 times to Sweden, for example. And here's something else to consider. Nielsen, being from Denmark, wouldn't even be here if there was no Team Europe, Jim.
Most of those Danish players can't play in their own country, so they're used to playing with different players from different countries. Most of them go to Sweden as soon as they're 15 or 16 to get a better competitive environment.
Don't you think after day two, all the criticism of North America and Europe has pretty much been silenced, I think?
You're absolutely right. Czechs are on the power play. Streit is off for holding the stick in a scoreless game. Thomas Plekanec to the side of the net. McCulloch kicked the puck back. Nakladel missed the net with his shot. Voracek is at the right point. The puck comes out. There, Edward Belmar killing the penalty along with Yannick Hansen. Frenchman and a Dane. German and a Swiss defenseman back for Team Europe. Yossi and Seidenberg. Penalty kill was excellent for Team Europe, led by Kopitar and Hossa in game number 1. And of course, Yaroslav Halak, who just made that save.
Well, early in these types of tournaments, sometimes the timing of your power play can be just a little bit off. And watch Nakladel here at the top, number 33. A good read by McCulloch. Get the pass you want. He thinks he's coming down, but just a little bit late. Had that been a second or two earlier read there by Nakladel, he might have been in a position to one-time that, and Yaroslav Spacek having a little chat with him when he gets to the bench.
Hansel, Sobotka, Cervenka come up out front of the power play. Alashemsky drops back, takes the pass, and gives it back to Andrei Schuster. Hemsky looks towards the net. One man back at the blue line, that's Schuster. There's his shot. Halak made a nice save in traffic with Hansel in front of the net. Cervenka poked the puck loose. Schuster along the boards, blocked by Marian Hossa. He and Andrzej Kopitar, Zdeno Chara, Andrej Sekera did a wonderful job of penalty killing against the Americans in game number 1. They all played about 4.5 minutes shorthanded. Nielsen takes over with Toby Reeder. It hasn't been much of a power play so far. And now the puck is on the European bench.
Well, sometimes the simplest formula will work on the power play, and that's to get pucks from the point to the front of the net with traffic, and it's not a hard shot by Schuster, but he makes sure he gets it past. Got a couple of double deflections. That one very close by Hansel to maybe being over the bar, but another good read by Halak. He's tracking the puck well and was able to follow that one in and make a good save.
In comes Vladimir Sobotka. Hansel got the puck towards the front of the net inadvertently. Cervenka couldn't quite get there before Jannik Hansen. Cervenka played briefly in Calgary with the Flames. Goes to the front of the net as Hansel goes down to the ice, and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare gets the puck to center for Team Europe. And that'll do it in the penalty to Mark Streit, and both of these teams are 0 for 1 in the power play, and the game remains scoreless almost halfway through the first period. Game 2 for each team in the World Cup. The Czechs 0-1, Team Europe 1-0. Team Europe, the second most experienced in terms of NHL games team in this tournament, and they have the second most Stanley Cups with 8 to Canada's 13. Draisaitl to Niederreiter. Pass from Vanek into the middle of the ice is intercepted by Michael Frolik. Can't chip the puck out. Held into the blue line by Sekera. Michael Jordan to Frolik. Little chip ahead. Racing onto the puck is Dmitry Yaskin. He fires a shot off the base of the post. And Halak had a little trouble figuring out where the puck was after it hit the back boards. Christian Ehrhoff, unrestricted free agent without a contract anywhere after this tournament. He moved the puck ahead, and the puck is out of play. Well, we're looking forward to tonight's game after this one. It's the young North American team that put away the Finns last night up against the Russians, and the Russians are 0-1, and like the Czechs, they badly need a win tonight. 7:30 Eastern time for a game we're looking forward to.
Yeah, much heralded that one after the display that North American, their speed and their puck handling ability was pretty incredible to watch. It'll be a great test against what will be a hungry Russian team.
Should be.
If they're not, they're in trouble.
Yeah. Better be ready to skate. Matt Zuccarello trying to center for Marian Gaborik. Franz Nielsen's the third member of this forward line. It's Thomas Buchanan's unit. They get to center, turn the puck over. The Americans did that a lot against Team Europe. In comes Roman Josi with some speed. Head up, fed the puck back. Franz Nielsen waiting, won't give up the puck easily, and fed it around again for Roman Josi. He's got Seidenberg on the other side into the middle, an errant pass, and the Czechs get the puck back and throw it out to center.
There's that patience you were talking about. This is an experienced group, and they're just not going to throw the puck away needlessly, try to control it and pick and choose their spots.
And fast enough that they've got a pretty good counterattack.
And pretty deep line-wise, too. I mean, their fourth line with Bellemare as the centerman is pretty reliable. It's got some speed with Hansen, and there's a pretty good balance with this line.
There's Roman Polak with an outlet pass, a relay to center. McCulloch couldn't get the puck. Sekera's back. Lost McCulloch. Chara with an aerial. And it's out of the park, and that's a penalty to Zdeno Chara, and he knew it the moment that he flipped it. He was just hoping that he could wheel it back into the arena, but it wouldn't stay. Just a little breakout pass over the glass. Out of play. Power play for the Czechs again in the World Cup of Hockey next. And right now between the Europeans and the Czech Republic, nobody owns this game. What it needs is a goal. What the Czechs need, Craig, is a goal. I think they're playing a very patient game like the Europeans here. Try not to make a mistake. Now they've got a power play and they need to score.
I find the challenge is when you've gone now 3.5 periods without scoring, the longer that goes, the harder to stay on your game. As Martin Raczynski, the GM, was talking about, players get frustrated, they get cheating a little bit, and that might break them down if they don't have some success here early on.
Ondrej Palat fed the puck back. Voracek couldn't keep it onside. Palat was so good in the pre-tournament games. Didn't get it revved up in game one here. He's on a different line. He's out on the power play now. Naglotl is in with the puck. Wings it around for Milan McCulloch. Dennis Seidenberg stepped in. He's triple teamed in the corner, and Palat has the puck for the Czech Republic. Around to Thomas Plekanec. Voracek is back at the blue line. Belmar had him cut off. Now the puck gets back to Voracek. Thought about passing across. Now he shoots. That's blocked before it got through. That's why he was reluctant to shoot the first time. Plekanec again. This time he'll go behind the net. McCulloch missed the puck. Naglotl knows he can't get the puck to Voracek. Just put it to the front of the net. Seidenberg cleared it. And the puck squirts loose and Roman Josi clears it. And the penalty killers get a much needed change.
I always find it's easier with a new group to try to reinforce defensive plays. And you could see the European team, pretty good structure and four-man unit supporting each other very effectively there on the penalty kill. Not a lot of open lanes there for passes.
Vladimir Sobotka tried to get in across the line on his own. Martin Streit couldn't clear the puck. And the puck stays in. Ales Hemsky back to the blue line, and Schuster put the puck towards the net. It'll rattle off some skates. Hemsky to Schuster. Ales Hemsky turns, won't shoot it. Back to Schuster, he won't shoot it. Hemsky finally puts the puck to the net. Hansel tried a back pass. They never did get the puck to the net, and the Europeans clear it.
That play now twice has been there, but just not quite effective. Good job always coming back to the front of the net with good sticks by the European penalty killer.
Amazing what one little mistake can mean. Mark Streit just couldn't quite clear the puck, and 30 seconds later there was all sorts of pressure and almost a goal. Shots are now 5-4 in favor of Team Europe. They're back at 5-on-5, having killed another penalty. The Czechs are 0 for 2 with a man advantage. Dominic McCulloch. Tip in, Seidenberg's back. Michael Berner is right on him. Europeans can't break out. Frolik turns and fires into skates in front. Josi gets the puck. There's a breakaway pass for Hossa, picked off by Michael Jordan. That's a play the Europeans used against the Americans effectively. An impeccable defensive contest so far. There have been no odd man rushes. Few opportunities to score. Jaro Halak. Zdeno Chara. Leon Draisaitl's line is on. He's with Marian Gaborik. Niederreiter right now. There's a pass to the front of the net, and there's Draisaitl, a big centerman back in perfect position defensively.
That defenseman steps up, and you know that you have the support of the center ice, and that's a good read by Draisaitl coming back.
Niederreiter moves in, and the puck was gloved ahead. So the play is stopped with 5:11 to go in the first period of a scoreless game between Europe and the Czech Republic at the World Cup of Hockey. Europe had a 1-0 lead and had 4 or 5 odd man rushes.
Yeah, and you got to take what you're given. And in the first game, the Europeans got outshot 35-17, but it was plays like this, mistakes by the Americans in the offensive zone, in the neutral zone, and this team, this experienced group, was able to take advantage of it. They were very opportunistic, but they were also eager to show that they could transition with some real speed, and it gave the Americans real trouble.
Nielsen, Gaborik, Zuccarello on the ice against Vladimir Sobotka. David Pastrnak, Roman Chervinka in forechecking right now. The Europeans break out to center. Good defensive play by Nakladdal. Closed on the Europeans in the neutral zone, so Chara's back for the puck again. Andrej Sekera. Nielsen got hit by Sobotka, and the Czechs get the puck back.
And there's 2 examples of the Czech D just closing the gap. Zuccarello tried to stretch out, as did Gaborik, and both Schuster and his partner were able to handle it pretty effectively.
So there's no secrets in the game. The Czechs saw what happened in game 1, and basically they've stolen the game plan from the Europeans against the Americans. 2 teams playing the same way. Here's Voracek straight up the middle. He's got Hansel with him. Voracek couldn't quite break through. And back the other way come the Europeans. Thomas Tatar, Marian Hossa, Andrzej Kopitar. They're in after the puck. Hossa knocked the puck free, side of the net. Mrazek is down, and he covers up. Neither of these goaltenders has been particularly busy, but they've both been tidy in the first period.
Well, hockey is all about making adjustments, and as you mentioned, by game 2, you have a little bit of a body of work of what to expect from your opponent. You look it up at the top of your screen. Zuccarello has speed. Boom. Nakladdal's there to close it away. When it comes back the other way, the same thing happened the second time. Polak doing a good job of moving the puck up ice quickly, but the Czech defenders did a nice job taking it away.
Zbynek McCulloch. Hard rink-wide pass, didn't get to Andre Palat. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, Thomas Vanek, Jannik Hansen. They are turned back. And here's Palat. Stops up, through the puck at the net. Halak made the save. There's a juicy rebound there, but the Europeans pounce on it and play the puck to center. No second chance. Palat chipped the puck in. Hemsky can't get to it. Seidenberg, Yossi, and the Europeans are back out to center. Roman Yossi, 1-on-3. He got through the puck in front, and Hansen was checked. Michael Kempny with a defensive play on Jannik Hansen. Side of the net, Mrazek knocked the puck loose for Kempny. His pass up the middle. Birner can't get the puck out. Hard shot there by Niederreiter as they kept the puck in for Team Europe. Toby Reeder has Draisaitl at the side of the net. Chara from the blue line, his shot was blocked, and the puck goes out of play as the Europeans tried to pounce on an error.
Well, one thing we've been able to track through this World Cup is the speed at which the players are coming up ice. Roman Yossi with a nice 29-kilometer skate through, a little outside, inside, and good job collapsing back to the front of the net. Both Kempny and Birner got back to the front, good active stick. Otherwise, that was a dangerous chance there for the Nashville defenseman, Roman Yossi, who's been a dangerous player for the last couple of years.
What we found from our Sports Vision trackers, it shows the distance that players skate. Andrzej Kopitar, 6.5 kilometers in game number 1. Fastest skaters are usually going about 40 kilometers per hour. Hardest shots around 140 Ks. And we'd welcome one right here. Mark Streit. Zuccarello. Again, the Czechs in perfect position. Kempny is back. Sobotka. Roman Polak. At center, Pastrnak tips the puck in. Streit is back. Watched by Chervinka. Turn back, D-to-D, and out for Team Europe. And Christian Ehrhoff dumps the puck in. They'll change on the fly again with a couple of minutes to go in the first period.
And you saw Roman Chervenka there. Wouldn't you like to have David Krejci in that position instead of Chervenka? I mean, a real challenge for so many of these teams, but for the Czech Republic, they're missing some key bodies. And here we are, almost 4 periods in without a goal. Krejci injured. Thomas Hertl, another dynamic offensive player for the San Jose Sharks. On the back end, Gudas. And, of course, the ageless Jaromir Jagr, who has represented the Czech Republic many times.
That's a killer. No Jagr here, so we're disappointed that the traveling mullets aren't here in the crowd either.
We'd have a good collection of them, wouldn't we? I think Krejci's a big loss, though, for this
Huge.
team. Both in the face-off dot, on the power play, on the penalty kill.
Pudler got snubbed at the last Olympics, so he wasn't even answering the phone, I don't think. 39 players from the Czech Republic perform in the NHL. 23 players are on this team. And a few young ones that they chose not to bring, like Andre Nespresso, for example.
Like anything, if you end up not being able to put the puck in the net, that's where the criticism in these tournaments always comes to management.
Marian Hossa on the attack with Tatar and Kopitar. Preventing McCulloch up the boards, couldn't get the puck out. Europe keeps it in. Here's Tatar. Here's Kopitar. Chara stopped by Mrazek. Best chance of the period after a turnover by the Czechs. Team Europe pounced, couldn't finish it.
Zdeno Chara looks skyward. He can't believe this one, but it's relentless back pressure there by Marian Hossa at first, then Kopitar joins, and this is right off the knob of Mrazek. I think Chara got it where he wanted to. He thought he had a little daylight there, and look at Mrazek, look at the top of his stick, and Chara in disbelief looks skyward. Great pictures.
Scramble draw, Hansen went straight ahead and got the puck, then he got pinned by Kempny. Pinching is Roman Josi to hold the puck in. He's backed up by Vanek. And the Czechs, Hemsky fights the puck out to center. With and Palat in the last minute of the first period. Mrazek up the boards. Palat was spun around, couldn't get the puck out. Europe starting to force some turnovers by the Czech Republic in the last few minutes of this period, getting more chances than the Czechs. Thomas Vanek. Roman Josi. Hansen goes to the net. Vanek puts the puck there. Hansen reaching for it, taken down. Michael Kempny will be penalized for tackling Jannik Hansen.
Jim, that's back-to-back shifts. Roman Josi has been really aggressive, jumping up to the ice. Got a chance earlier and then a penalty there.
Wait, Kopitar with a hard shot as he skated across the blue line. Just missed the net. And Michael Kempny will be penalized with 15 seconds remaining in the first period. And Europe will get its second power play. They're 0 for 1.
Well, you mentioned the turnovers, Jim, and how the European team was getting the Czechs back on their heels. Here again, Josi jumps up. A good drive to the net is what causes the penalty there. Michael Kempny loses body position and is forced to take his man Hansen down.
So a chance for a chance right off a faceoff before the end of the period. And Kopitar's an excellent faceoff man. Martin Hansel's pretty good too, and the two number 11s are in the faceoff circle. The shooter behind Kopitar, if he draws it back, is Roman Josi, and he does draw it back. And Tatar tried to feed Josi. Instead, Hansel got ahead and got it. And Jaro Halak out to play the puck. Thomas Tatar running out of time in the period. Vanek better shoot it. Steady pass. Period comes to an end in the power play. We'll have 1 minute and 46 seconds to go in it for Team Europe to begin period number 2 in a scoreless game on day number 3 at the World Cup. Here's Ron McLean.
No, Jim, I mentioned Marty Rachinski got hit by Eric Lindros in the 91 Canada Cup. He responded with a brilliant career, both internationally and in the National Hockey League. The Czechs did band together well in Prague in the pre-tournament. There was a big hit by Alexei Emelin on Nakladl. And right away, Andre Palat of the Tampa Lightning comes in, gets a penalty for it, but it was a great response. Now, there was a Tampa guy in the first period, didn't do that. Nick will have that story, and we'll just analyze what's going on in this tight battle between Team Europe and the Czech Republic in a moment. Back at the ACC, first goal is so important in this tournament. Everybody's undefeated, scoring first in World Cup in 04. Adam Graves telling us 17-1 team scoring first. That was Milan Mahalik. Almost had it early on. He had 2 shot attempts. Here he is with Scott Oak.
Milan, 2 teams trying to be patient, wait for the other to make a mistake. Is that a fair description of the first period?
Yeah, I guess so. They're staying back in the neutral zone is hard to get through, and we lost some pucks and they get some opportunities from that, so we have to be careful and get the pucks deep and play the easy game.
What's the level of frustration for your team in going now 4 periods without a goal?
It is, especially we had so many power plays too, and we can score, so we have to be better and just get the pucks to the net and be in front of the net and get some rebounds. It has to be ugly.
Thanks for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay, so Kelly, not entirely patient, the Czechs.
Well, you know, watching this, we had a great game last night to watch. We kind of expected this, and it really reminded me of a game in the National Hockey League in January. Very cautious, although the Czechs, Martin Rucinski, told us in the pregame show they're going to try and be a little bit more aggressive than last game, and we saw some signs of it, especially when the puck was in the offensive zone. So here they're trying to get numbers, and that to me is a real smart thing. They've got to try and generate some offense. See a couple of examples of it. Again, nicely positioned, trying to get loose pucks. The other thing is, though, they're not very aggressive on the forecheck, but they're just trying to do it in the offensive zone. So that's what we're seeing from them.
And that means it's a tight checking game, which means it's a 200-foot game, which is right in the wheelhouse of Anze Kopitar. And once again, doing everything he does for LA, doing it out here for Team Europe. He is a horse, and this is a prime example how he does it both ends of the ice. This is against Hansel. Hansel, no slouch. He just eats him up for breakfast here and starts the rush 200 feet down there. And here he is in front of the net. Now, I don't like this at all from Suzar because he doesn't acknowledge at all that Kopitar's there and he's cross-checking him. And I'm not saying that you need to drop your gloves or punch him, but hey, once in a while, that 2-word common phrase on the ice that we're accustomed to needs to be said, and look him in the eye. If it does nothing else, Kelly, you know this, it gets the attention of the bench saying, if we're challenging their best player, then make sure we're on our game.
Well, it got my attention. I'm 400 feet away and about 5 stories up, and I just thought, Schuster's 6'7". Come on. Kopitar's 6'3", just send a little message. Don't take a penalty. Send a bit of a message.
Well, on the one clip you showed, Chara just demolished a guy.
Yes, he
so,
did.
you know, that's
Hemsky.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Nick. I'm confused. What 2-word phrase did you mean?
I'll explain it to you at the commercial break.
Okay. So just wanted to say, you know, Kopitar, we talked in the pregame about his ice time, and Ralph Kruger said, I'm not having him play 24 minutes again. It's creeping close. 7.5 in the first, was at 22.5. The other thing, thinking about watching that period, and you talked about the Czechs trying to be a little bit more aggressive. You know, their goal differential is -6 coming in. At the end of the day, if they win 2 games, they probably get through to the next round. But I'm kind of looking at them right now and I'm saying if they're in the tiebreaker position, they're going to have to open it up because their tiebreaker right now is the worst of the 4 teams.
Good thing for the Czech Republic, too. Mrazek was sharp. So coming into this game, we all talked about the importance he might have, the role he might have in this game. Looked really good. He got lucky, though, last shot by Chara, but luck is a part of the game.
Back checks. Lots of back checks from everybody. Everybody's conscientious in an event like this.
For sure. And we talked about it. Team Europe, this is how they're going to play. Kruger, there's no question about the game plan. Everybody's got to be a part of it. So a great scorer like Gaborik, hey, get on your horse, bud. You got to track down that puck. He does on a pretty good player, Plekanec. And then Draisaitl's going to do the same thing. I mean, this is a team right now that's playing with structure, and they're going to get the job done. There's Draisaitl now coming back. Great play.
For me, this is where the game's evolved more than ever before the last 10 years, is that we never had that back check. We do know that we every once in a while, as long as we maintained a position to come back to your own zone, you were fine. Now, this is what we see common.
I remember 2008 Stanley Cup Finals, Sidney Crosby with Pittsburgh down 0-2 to Detroit, saying that the thing that shocked him the most was the way Zetterberg and Datsuk backchecked. He never had that happen to him before, and you're right now, Nick. It's a staple. Everybody does it.
Gents, one of the highlights of the opening of the game was the opening of the game. Thomas Kaberle in attendance with his boy, and that was just gorgeous. You know, watching Yossi skate out there, very much like Kaberle. We'll talk to Paul Fenton about that in our second intermission, but little magic there at the World Cup of Hockey in Toronto. Welcome back. Crunch time here at the World Cup. It's really crunch time for the Toronto Blue Jays. The Mariners tonight, they'll be on the air at 9:30. Jamie Campbell, Greg Zahn tee that game up. Right now, they in Baltimore. The Jays are in the wild card spots. Jays 4 back of the Boston Red Sox, 2 up on Seattle, who are on their heels. So that's huge tonight in baseball. Don't forget Russia, North America this evening at 7:30. We'll be on the air. Connor McDavid called them the hockey giants, the Russians. Here are a few clips in anticipation of that one tonight.
I think it's just about staying on an even keel and not getting too excited. I mean, it would be very easy for us to be very high on ourselves and all that, but it just can't happen. So everyone's ready to go, and we look forward to the game tonight.
We haven't done anything too crazy, but I mean, we've definitely hung out a lot off the ice. So when you start to do that kind of stuff and you start to bond off the ice, it helps your chemistry on the ice.
Everybody's giving them credit for the attack and the offensive plays, which is really fun to watch. But they begin because they're doing something else right. We watch the video, and it would be nice to watch it from the blue line in tic-tac-toe and it's in the net. But you've got to take it back further, and there's a commitment level that the players have to get to or are getting to that allows them to do that and go the other way. So they want to show the world and the rest of the hockey community that they have the ability to defend and check and take some pride in that part of the game as well.
So we're on the air with Sportsnet tonight at 7:30. The Jays will be on Sportsnet 1 until our game is finished, and then that'll go to the main network.
Well, we just heard Todd talking about crediting the players, but Todd, credit you for making them understand that you want to move this puck and you want to push it as quickly as you can up the ice. No D to D, no slowing, no turn-ups. Just get it up to the speedy guys. And once you get it, you're not in a position to really mess around with it. If you get closed off, you keep chipping it and putting it in areas where you can get it back. And that really causes the effect to be one fast hockey club, Kelly.
You look at these clips, and I don't think other than Canada, there's another team that can play that way. And so that's why we're seeing this afternoon a more cautious game. Interesting tonight. I'm going to see what Russia does to counter-attack this.
I have to tell you, at the morning media availability this morning, the Russian media were all over the players and coaches. The heat is on for them. It's going to be a big one for them.
Zdeno Chara had a great chance to open the scoring for Team Europe. As we go to break, you'll see Peter Mrazek getting the nod for the Czech Republic make this great save. And you can just see the reaction of Chara saying, what a knob. Second period, the World Cup of Hockey next.
On notice here, take on Alex Ovechkin and Team Russia tonight as the World Cup continues on Sportsnet. Team Europe's best player, Anze Kopitar, was mic'd up for Europe's upset of Team USA on Saturday. Listen to what he said as the clock wound down in a 3-0 win.
We pulled them all, boys, with the first 2 games. Pulled them all.
Although his first 2 games being losses to a much faster Team North America, which appeared to have Team Europe flat-footed. Unlikely that it was all part of Team Europe's plan, but Jim, a nice thought nonetheless.
Yeah, 4-0 and 7-4, and it looked like the Europeans were destined to be 3 and done in this tournament. Now they've got a really good chance to get to the semifinal. They'll start this period on a power play for 1 minute and 46 seconds on fresh ice. And this game badly needs a goal to break what has been a chess match with neither team willing to make a bad move. Michael Kempny in the penalty box. Czechs get the puck. Europeans are 0 for 1 with a man advantage. This is their second opportunity. Kopitar is on the ice. Thomas Tatar, Marian Hossa, Thomas Vanek, and Roman Josi, and there's an icing call against the power play on the fresh ice.
Well, right now there just needs to be that sense of urgency, and I think you mentioned the early struggles of this European team. I think it played right into the hands of the way Ralph Kruger was going to handle this group. It brought everybody close together. It got the coach the attention of his team, and I think he's handled it extremely well. The next step is to take over this game. This is a big power play here to start a second period and get the Czechs back on their heels.
And after the puck is Kopitar. Now they've got the setup. Hossa, Vanek, over to Roman Josi, and around the outside they go. Hossa, defender Jordan lost his stick, but he's got it back. Josi into the middle of ice. There's a screen in front. Kopitar fires a shot, and Peter Mrazek, the young Red Wing, makes a nice save.
That was a real aggressive movement by Mrazek there. Watch as the puck gets along the boards, and Kopitar does a nice job of following it up. That creates a little bit of a gap. Now he walks off, and Mrazek sliding across and just made sure that he grabbed it and held on. Sometimes you get a little bit of a rebound there. He felt it underneath his elbow, and even though he was sliding out of the net there, he was able to hold on to the puck.
Top goaltender at the 2012 World Juniors in Alberta faces this power play again. Zuccarello with a shot. Mrazek with another save. Marian Gaborik on the outside. Zuccarello. Draisaitl's in front of the net. Gaborik trying to finesse the puck to his forehand and get it in. Back to the blue line, Mark Streit. Plays the puck in, Franz Nielsen. Down low is Draisaitl, Gaborik there as well, but he's closed in. He got himself open enough to get a shot in amongst those 4 penalty killers. From the blue line, Mark Streit, who's got a great shot, won't take it. Too many bodies in the way. He'll pass off. Franz Nielsen, hard pass. Zuccarello to the front. What a save by Mrazek on Leon Draisaitl's tip. He got across in a hurry to the right side, into the middle. Draisaitl again with a shot. That one was blocked. Naglado made the block, and just as the penalty to Kempny expired, there's another one being called for cross-checking, and Europe will be right back on the power play.
Yeah, that's the best chances of this power play late. A quick shot there right off the bat by Zuccarello off the mask of Mrazek. Good quick puck movement down low. Gaborik gets a shot that doesn't quite find its mark. And then this one, as you mentioned, Jim, I thought Mrazek did an excellent job of telegraphing his foot out there. You see how he pushed that right pad and closed off the gap between Draisaitl's stick and the open net. And at the end, just a little overzealous cross-check to the back by McCulloch to the face of Zuccarello.
Back-to-back power plays, and Kopitar's first unit comes back on. Hossa down to the side of the net. Tatar working in front against Roman Polak, and he's getting worked over. Kopitar turns out front. Hossa back to the blue line. Josi, one-timer by Vanek, was blocked by Polak. Czechs can't clear the puck. Frolik couldn't get it out. Here's Roman Josi. Thomas Vanek. tried to get the puck through and couldn't. That was blocked by Sobotka, but the Europeans get the puck back. Josi with Hossa parked in front of the net. The puck got away from Kopitar. Now he's got it back. Vanek sneaking into the right side. Hossa drives to the front of the net. Mrazek is down. The puck's underneath him. Hossa thinks the puck is in the net.
Penalty shot.
Penalty shot. Somebody grabbed onto the puck.
I think it was Kempny right in the crease, and the reaction was immediate. Let's watch the play. Good aggressive play by Mrazek. Oh yeah, he put his hand right on top of it, and Kelly Sutherland was right on the doorstep. Here's a great look at it there. Good aggressive play by Mrazek. You cannot put it on top. Your left hand there of Kempny grabbed the puck and knocked it away, and an emphatic call here by Kelly Sutherland. Got to figure it's Kopitar.
Yeah, you would have to. Pretty easy choice,
yeah,
isn't it?
I would say. Well, you got Marian Hossa there on the ice, Tatar as well, but let the captain do the duty.
A 0-0 game. Team Europe on a power play. Puck is covered in the crease by the hand of Michael Kempny, and it's a penalty shot. Here's Andrzej Kopitar against Peter Mrazek. And the young Czech stopped the Slovenian. It's still a scoreless game, and the power play continues.
You know, that's a risky play, and it's one that if it goes in, you look amazingly controlled because you're just backhanding it, trying to open up the wickets there for the goaltender. But watch Mrazek. He gets that right pad down quickly and doesn't allow any room there for Kopitar to slide it in. At times you can embarrass a goaltender there, get him moving so much and quietly slide it between the legs, but Mrazek read it really well.
Still over a minute to go in a power play for Team Europe, trying to get that first goal. Gaborik kicks the puck back to the blue line. Zuccarello, Streit, Franz Nielsen, slowly on the outside as time ticks away. Draisaitl, Nielsen, Streit, still no shot. Gaborik, still no shot as he turns away from McCullough. Streit, here's Gaborik, turns, finally shoots, and he misses. Nielsen had the puck bounce right by him. Short-handed, quickly out to center. Here's Plekanec. Palat goes to the net. What a shot over top of the net from Plekanec, but he missed it. And the Europeans with numbers can't get away the other direction. Franz Nielsen overskated the puck. Gaborik's got it. He shoots. Mrazek to save, an off-speed shot. And Plekanec gets the puck and clears it.
You know, I mentioned there's only 2 right-handed shots on this European team, and for too much of that power play, they were setting up on this left side. There's nobody to take a one-timer. They finally got it to the other, but then lost it. Good transition here, even though you're short-handed. Palat gets it up and gets on his horse. Plekanec getting closed off there, just rips one up high. You can see the puck speed here. Plekanec at 28 kilometers, and the puck flies up quickly.
And of the 2 right-handed shots on the team, one of them's a penalty killer, Jannik Hansen. He doesn't play the power play. Vanek is the only forward that shoots that way, and all the defensemen are left. Down to the last 5 seconds of this 3rd European power play. What an opportunity they've missed. They've had lots of shots. At least early in the power plays they did. 5-on-5 again now, and the Czechs dodged a bullet. Mrazek stopped a penalty shot. The shots are 16-6 Europe, but the score is still 0-0.
Well, if I'm Peter Mrazek, you've come into a situation where your team got a little overwhelmed in game 1. Goaltender Neuvirth got to get the start of the first one. Now you're coming in. He's settled his team down. He's given them everything that they need. He's stopped 16 shots. Now you look for your teammates to start getting the offensive game going, something they haven't done nearly enough of.
Shots in this period are 6-1 because
the penalty kill, right?
Penalty kill. Europe's been on the power play for all of the early part of this period. And they've got some momentum, and Kopitar's back on with Hossa and Tatar. Down and up, and he's got the puck, and Josi fires a shot that went wide. In comes Seidenberg. Pinched. Didn't get the puck, but he was backed up by Tatar. Josi. Kopitar and Kempny battle.
Let's go.
That's Eric Furlot talking to the players, telling them to play the puck. Let's go. Hossa back defensively. Thomas Tatar trying to break down that left side. Spins through the puck at the net, and Mrazek made a nice save. Nifty move by Thomas Tatar. Tristan Ehrhoff is back. In pursuit, David Pastrnak. Draisaitl back defensively, jarred the puck loose. Toby Reeder. Then German starts to center and puts the puck in deep. Niederreiter in against Michael Jordan, who made the play. Pastrnak gets out. Roman Cervenka in on Martin Strike. Fed the puck across. Pastrnak just about got control of that. Tried to center and couldn't. Draisaitl breaks the play up. Strides to center. Niederreiter on his left. Coming up is Reeder on his right. Good stick by Zbynek McCulloch to break the play up, and now he's got the puck. Michael Jordan has some time and space. Europeans are changing. Pass to center, went off his skate. Gaborik's stick fell apart. Plekanec trying to move in. Andre Palat on his backhand, shoveled the puck at the net. Halak kicked it aside. Right there looking for a rebound was Hemsky, and it went to the corner instead. Schuster is back. Zuccarello's right on it. Hard around. Hemsky couldn't get the puck. Chara, as the pace of this game picks up, moves the puck in for Team Europe. Short shifts, a little faster pace than we saw earlier, a little more desperation. Andre Palat to center. Jannik Hansen stopped him. Josi again. Fires the puck in. Mrazek missed it. Hansen can't get it. Vanek at the empty net. Mrazek's down, and he makes the save on Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, who got the last chance. An open net for Vanek. A rebound for Bellemare. But Peter Mrazek, big saves in the second period, keeps this game scoreless.
Benefiting from the formation of Team Europe to get to the World Cup, he was taken headfirst into the dasher boards earlier in the period, and any contact to the head of Zuccarello conjures up memories of April of 15. Ryan McDonough's slap shot hit him in the head, and it was traumatic. A brain contusion, bleeding on the brain, a hairline skull fracture. He also lost the ability to speak for 4 days, had to undergo speech therapy. Amazingly, he was good to go last season, but you know, Jim, he takes nothing for granted in the game of hockey now.
A great performance in his hometown of Oslo to get Norway into the 2018 Olympics in a qualifying tournament earlier this month. There's an offside call as Cervenka came in over the blue line for the Czech Republic backwards.
That was a close call there, and for Zuccarello, you're right. You think of how quickly things can change over the course of your career, and so many times guys fearlessly stand in front of blocking shots. That one there, though, you're just thinking offensively. So often when you're playing on a defensive role, you're more guarded and maybe get out of the way, as you saw on that one, just totally unaware of where the shot from his teammate was coming from. Got him right in the side of the head. Great to see him back playing.
Kopitar won the draw. Chara's shot knocked down in front of the net. Rebound, what a save by goaltender Peter Mrazek on Marian Hossa. No chances for the Czech Republic in this period. Lots of them for the Europeans, but they can't finish. There's a shot by Kempny, and you know what that usually means. The Czechs trying to make good on their only chance. Chipped over top of the net by McCall. Kempny. Roman Polak with a slap shot whistled wide of the net. On the other side, Voracek. Kempny fires, that's blocked in front of the goal. Good and easy block for Andrei Sekera. And the Europeans get back in the other end, but a good Czech shift, one of their better ones of this period against the Kopitar line.
Yeah, they had great positioning in front, Jim. Martin Hansel was right in front of the goaltender Halak, but the two defensemen for Team Europe just focused on the puck, and Sekera with an excellent block, never allowing the puck to get there.
Christian Ehrhoff back, tried to clear the puck. Buchanan kept it in, trying to pick up the pace for the Czech Republic here. Outshot 20-7 in the game so far. Jordan races after the puck. Reeder's a speedster. Draisaitl follows, and Buchanan's on the back check, caught him. Hemsky. Andrei Palat. Advanced the puck, knocked out of the air by Mark Streit. Reeder quickly the other way again, drops the puck off. Draisaitl got some open ice in front. Ehrhoff shoots. Mrazek makes another save on the 21st shot by Team Europe.
Oh, there's just a harmless looking play at first, but once they gain the line, it's a good read here by Ehrhoff. The pressure, two Czechs go at the puck carrier, and that leaves the middle of the ice open. Ehrhoff jumps in the opening there, and this is another good positional save. Ehrhoff had a little bit of back pressure there, so didn't have much time, and Mrazek out at the top of his blue in great position and held on.
Not halfway through the period, and the shots are 13-2 Europe in the second.
Just no offensive time at all, really, for the Czechs, hasn't it been? Got on their heels with the early penalties, but they just haven't been able to get any offensive zone time.
Cervenka, Sobotka, Pasternak trying to remedy that. Vladimir Sobotka, Pasternak with a shot, a weak one. That was off speed and kicked out by Halak. Almost gave him trouble because it wasn't very hard. Here's Pasternak again. Can't get the shot away. Traffic in front, he'll throw the puck across. Cervenka can't get a shot. Josi gets the puck, and he moved it out to center. Andrei Schuster, young Tampa defenseman. Dmitry Yaskin. He hasn't played very much, but primarily a three-line game for the Czechs. Fourth line on now, and in a little trouble. Dennis Seidenberg moves up and fires a shot. The rebound comes to Pasternak late in his shift. To an open side. Puck's all the way to center. Yaskin is there. He'll dump the puck in. Flying in is Michael Perner. On the right side, Michael Frolik. Polak shoots wildly wide of the net. Yaskin cycles back, but Frolik had gone the other way. Belmar chips the puck to center. It was knocked down. Berner plays it back in his own zone. Polak to Kempny. At center, a turnover. In comes Thomas Vanek. He shoots. Mrazek the save. Sekera shoots on the rebound, and he missed the net. On the other side, Chara holds the puck in for Hansen. Belmar in front, centering pass. Goaltender's lost his stick. Vanek check from behind. Get the puck in front. Hansen can't get it. Chara scores! On a wild scramble, Mrazek lost his stick and got it back. Chara jumped into the left side and from a sharp angle makes it 1-0 Europe.
Well, this has been a long, long shift for this line of the Czech Republic there. Yaskin a little slow to get to the point. Hansen wins the battle. The goaltender Mrazek loses his stick, and Hansel focuses on getting it back. Look at the interaction here as Hansel gives the stick back to Mrazek. Neither of them know where the puck is, and what a heads-up play by Zdeno Chara. Not his hardest shot that he scored on, but he was aware of what was going on at the net and just made sure he got it up and over the goaltender, who was preoccupied with getting his stick back.
The key there was make sure it's accurate.
It almost
Just
looked
get
like
it
he
to the
took
net.
something off it, didn't he? He just had his head up the entire time and put it exactly where he needed to.
Well, will that change the complexion of this game? Finally, Team Europe breaks through. They've outshot the Czechs 24-8, and the 24th shot finally went in against Peter Mrazek.
You got to be concerned if you're the Czechs, though, don't you, Jim? With 8 shots at this point.
And they haven't scored a goal in the tournament. Jake Voracek turns, trying to fire, can't do it. Hanzol knocked down. Jordan moves in with a shot. That deflected. Halak made the save. It's a loose puck right on the goal line. Seidenberg just saved a goal. Right off the goal line. Jordan with a shot off a skate and wide of the net. In comes Jordan. Roman Josi up the boards. Plekanec holds the puck and he gets it again, fires a shot. That had some weird movement to it and went wide of the net. In comes Alashensky, centering pass. Josi picked it off to the blue line, not out. Jordan kept the puck in only for a second. Here's Andrzej Kopitar to center and dumps the puck in.
We've seen a lot of close calls at that end, haven't we, Jim? The North American game, a couple on the goal line, but what a heads-up play by Seidenberg. Almost on his knees, just got back and kept that puck out of the net.
Naklon will dump the puck in. Halak is out to meet it. Draisaitl overskated the puck. Andre Palat with a shot. And Halak rather awkwardly made the catch and held on. Dennis Seidenberg without a contract. Rumor is he's headed for Ottawa's camp. He'll get a look from a few teams if he keeps making defensive plays like that.
Well, Vladimir Sobotka was very nearly the Czech Republic's first victim in the World Cup when he was hurt in their first pre-tournament game, but he's here and he's hoping to stay in North America after the World Cup and return to the St. Louis Blues, whom he left in a contract dispute 2 years ago. For the last 5 months, he's been trying to get out of his contract with Omsk, the KHL. The general manager there says Sobotka will play for Omsk this season, and any other talk is nonsense. Blues GM Doug Armstrong says Sobotka will play for St. Louis, so it remains to be seen, Jim, who wins the standoff.
Well, he's the player, so he should have some leverage, you would think. They could use a goal from him right now. Against Team Czech Republic.
Soon he'll be ready to go back right away.
Europeans have scored 4 goals in this tournament. They haven't given one up. Czechs have yet to score, and they're almost 5 periods in. Zdeno Chara from Vanek and Belmar. 10:05 of the second period. The first goal of this game, and it's an important one, and might be the only one. Roman Polak. Hemsky races onto the puck against Streit. Dropped it off. Plekanec couldn't get a good shot. It was in too tight on it. Polak with a shot to the front of the net. Hemsky's on his backhand for Plekanec. It hit him in the skate. And Jannik Hansen takes the puck to center, chips it around Polak, trying to get in after it. They battle for the puck to the side of the net. Michael Kempny gave up the puck. Hansen centering pass into the feet of Belmar, and Plekanec cleared the puck. You know, one of the better chances in this game for the Czechs, and they couldn't bury one.
Get the PlayStation 4 bundle now. Play NHL 17, the most exciting EA Sports NHL ever on PS4.
One of the challenges is if you don't put the puck on net, you can't score. A little bit of overpassing there. First chance for Hemsky, tries to go back to Plekanec, and then again tries to throw it back. If Plekanec is a right-handed shot, maybe a better chance of that, but two close calls, but no shots on goal.
Kopitar won another face-off. Hossa and Kopitar battle for the puck. Tatar's out front. Zdeněk McCulloch won the little battle for the puck behind the net. McCulloch to center. Voracek with a shot. He scores! Jake Voracek got a little room, snapped a shot. The Czechs have their first goal of the tournament. This game's tied 1-1.
It was almost not even there. Watch Roman Josi just going after a bouncing puck. He thinks he can clear it, but a heads-up play by Voracek. Just a little bit of a lift of the stick with Josi right there. Puck pops through, no hesitation, and just a perfectly placed shot. 14 inches, stick side. Voracek's got his head up the entire way, off the post and in. Polak was in good position there. You see outside is blue, but that's a goal scorer's goal in midstream flight.
Just the 14th shot on goal in this game for the Czech Republic. There's an icing call against the Czechs. And Jake Voracek of the Philadelphia Flyers ties this game 1-1. There's hope for the Czechs yet.
Well, Voracek is one of those players who's trying to rebound from a subpar year. Just 11 goals for him last year in Philadelphia. But there was no hesitation there, in full stride, and put it exactly where he needed to.
So 93 minutes and 28 seconds for the Europeans without giving up a goal in this tournament. Finally, Jake Voracek breaks through and ties this 1-1 in a game again in a short tournament that the Czechs really must win.
Well, it's one of those gambles at the line too. Josi just really felt he was in good position. He had two Czechs to deal with, but that bouncing puck just found its way through, and Voracek made him pay.
Here comes Frolik, hoping the goals will come in bunches, and he's turned back. Hard strike to center. Tobias Rieder turned back. Jordan and McCulloch got assists on the goal by Jake Voracek. Here's Mark Streit. Long pass at center right by Gaborik. Polak is back. Niederreiter right on him. And Pasternak comes out of his zone with the puck. Checked on the back check by Leon Draisaitl. Great read by Cervenka to get to that clearing attempt. Czechs have the puck back. Kempny, Cervenka, in for Pasternak. Tied up by Seidenberg. Polak is in off the blue line to hold the puck in. Gaborik with an outlet. Niederreiter got the puck through to Roman Josi, the defenseman up on the play. His shot was blocked. Europeans are changing, a delayed offside, but the Europeans tag up. Czechs advance the puck. It's tipped in, and Chara is back. Sekera. Frans Nielsen ahead. Zuccarello couldn't catch up to the puck. Voracek back on the ice, an area pass that went to Gaborik, and he'll dump the puck back in for Team Europe. McCulloch. Caught by Frans Nielsen, battling up the boards. Hansel got a stick up in the face. Zuccarello's centering pass knocked away by Kempny as he tried to get the puck to the front of the net. Here's Sekera. Can't get a shot through. Walks the line and tried to take one. Hansel stays with it. Milan McCulloch comes up with a puck. His backhand pass didn't get to Voracek. The reach of Zdeno Chara broke the play up. Chara with a pass into the feet of Kopitar. Tatar takes over and shoots. Mrazek to save. Hossa after the rebound, knocked away by Plekanec. Here comes Ales Hemsky. His pass towards the net. There were no options there. He was closed out by Roman Josi. Hemsky again. Feeds the puck into Palat. Plekanec takes over. Schuster had jumped into the front of the net. They couldn't get him the puck. Europeans clear it, trying to race onto it is Hossa. He's got Tatar in front, and Schuster got back to keep the puck from getting to the front of the goal. Andre Palat. Back and forth they go. Now Jacob Naklado to center. Hemsky tipped the puck in and hits with a bench and a change. Back come the Europeans. Stretch pass to Vanek. His hard pass into the middle. Hansen gets it and shoots wide of the net. Trouble taking the pass. It was so hard and it was in his skates. Belmar for Hansen, intercepted by Kempny. Can't dump the puck in. The Europeans only had a chance to get away. Vanek turns, tried to pass to Hansen. He got knocked down and the Czechs get the puck. And Vanek is slow to get up, but he's staying in the play instead of going to the bench. Hard strike. Banks the puck in. Mrazek will set it up. Now he'll have to play it with Belmar charging in. David Pastrnak to center. Andre Sekera drives the puck right back in. Gets some help from Zdeno Chara. Weeder leaves the puck behind the net. Niederreiter got to it first. Draisaitl takes over. Centering pass in escape. Weeder chases after it. Niederreiter's in front. The pass for Sekera. Got to Chara. Shoots just wide of the net. Trying to get the puck through, and it came back off the boards to Mrazek. And he covers it up. Goals 3 minutes apart in the second period. Zdeno Chara for Europe. Jake Voracek for the Czech Republic. Hockey, and lots of it, and it starts early this season. The National Hockey League will pick up on the 12th of October. Ottawa plays in Toronto in the opener, or Toronto plays in Ottawa in the opener, and we'll unveil Rogers Place on Sportsnet as Calgary and Edmonton play in Connor McDavid's new home. And Hockey Night in Canada returns on the 15th of October, a Saturday in this building. Boston will be the visitors against the Toronto Maple Leafs. World Cup, meantime, continues. Jake Voracek has tied this game 1-1. Czech Republic badly needing a win. They lost their first game. They can make things very interesting in their pool if they can beat Team Europe. They're also in the pool with the United States and Canada. Here's Marian Gaborik. Puck got away from him. He's trying to get it back, and he does, but he's into the neutral zone. Gaborik with Franz Nielsen. Matt Zuccarello takes over, takes the shot, short side. Mrazek got a piece of that. Roman Josi just dumped the puck back in. Team Europe will change here. Jacob Nakladel to center. Pasternak stripped to the puck. Back in comes Zuccarello to the net. And he got closer to scoring a goal with his body than the puck did. There's a penalty coming up because of it. Loose puck in front of the net. Thomas Tatar gets it. Czechs will be penalized. The goaltender's out for an extra attacker here for Europe. Cross ice pass. Sekera knocks it down. Zuccarello's in the slot. Sekera, side of the net. Kopitar takes over. Marian Hossa on the outside. Sekera blasts a shot. A blocker saved by Mrazek, and he steered the puck out of play. And now the penalty for tripping Zuccarello is called, and Nakladel will go off.
Oh, the dreaded turnover just at the blue line here. Heads up play by Zuccarello, though. Look to keep his legs moving. And once you're down and on the ice like Nakladel was there, you run the risk of that stick knocking the legs out of Zuccarello, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, Toronto's eyes are on the World Cup. There's also a lot of eyes on the Toronto Blue Jays, who are out on the West Coast. They're in Seattle at Safeco, and they'll play tonight. And you can watch that game on Sportsnet 1 and view it on Sportsnet Now on the internet. The Blue Jays split in Los Angeles against the Angels and now play Seattle in what should be like a home game, although it's a weekday out there instead of a weekend. British Columbians usually flock to those games. There's a shot from the point of the power play by Vanek, and it's deflected just wide as the Europeans try and forge ahead with a man advantage here. Marian Hossa. Gaborik's in front. Kopitar on the boards. Vanek in the slot. Back at the blue line is Roman Josi. Milan McCulloch with a good defensive play jarred the puck loose, and Martin Hansel dumps the puck in. Hansel trying to stay on the puck offensively while killing the penalty, and he got some help from Andre Palat. Fourth power play of the game for the Europeans. They've had almost 7 minutes of power play time, haven't been able to score and missed on a penalty shot. Here's Josi with a shot. Mrazek with a save, the rebound, and the period came to an end just in the nick of time. Mrazek made the save and the horn sounded.
Well, another great effort by Mrazek here as the entry. Everybody collapsed back, left the trailer wide open, and there's just a good positional save once again by Mrazek, and the rebound too late.
They'll still have 1:10 on the power play when the third period begins in a 1-1 tie. The shots are 29-14 Team Europe. Ron?
Right, Paul Fenton played 400 games in the NHL, had a fantastic year with the Winnipeg Jets, and now for the last 18 years has been with the management team of the Nashville Predators. He's with Team North America. He'll join us in the intermission. In that period, you had a goal by a Prince George Cougar and a goal by a Halifax Moosehead. You know which is which? Chara, Prince George Cougars, Voracek, Halifax Moosehead. So you got 9 countries on the ice, and you have coast to coast in Canada too, tying in. Back on the World Cup of Hockey, and a reminder tonight, Russia on the ropes against Team North America. The sensational story of this tournament. Canada's been great, but the North Americans is such a surprise, and that's always the element of success in show business. Paul Fenton, I mentioned, has been for the last 18 years with the Nashville Predators. He and Patty Verbeek are directors of player personnel for that Team North America, and that's fun in and of itself. Yzerman doesn't do anything without going to Pat Verbeek, and neither does David Poile in Nashville. Paul, with you. So I'll let Nick Kypreos kind of attack on each subject here.
Yeah, a bit of a two-part question. I think the turnaround, Paul, with Team Europe from the moment they started together was how Jossi's really established himself as the alpha dog on this blue line. And now I ask you, who's the alpha dog once this thing's over and you're back in Nashville? Is it PK Subban or Josi? Because he's proven in a very short period of time that he can be amongst the best in the league.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of times we have not gotten that recognition that we have that type of player in Nashville. And with him getting votes for the Norris and people watching him and us taking that next step, hopefully he's an amazing player. I think we could use both he and PK, to be honest with you. I mean, we'll see if they're going to play together. We're going to see if they play in opposite pairs. But the rest of our defense actually complements them both very well.
Well, back home, I really love Ryan Ellis. Big fan of his offensive game. And actually, Paul, through your history, Ryan Suter or Shea Weber or Klein, there's a ton of those kinds of players that you've uncovered or put into the system. So is that a thing that you and David Poile talk a lot about?
Well, in 03, it doesn't happen very often, but we had kind of put a thought process that we would take defensemen. And we ended up taking 4 guys that really played in the National Hockey League, because you can add Alex Sulzer into that. And we had taken a Russian later on that we had signed and thought he was going to come over and play the next year. So we could have come out of the 03 draft with 5 guys. But
wow,
honestly, to have, Suter, Weber, and Klein still playing at this capacity and being as elite as they are, it's a great draft.
And Nick got into this conversation about, and you actually told him, Roman Josi did not feel comfortable playing his off wing. Alex Pietrangelo is being asked to do it for Team Canada here. It's very difficult for a defenseman, in this case a right-handed shot, to go onto the left side. Teppo Numminen was brilliant at it.
I've always said that it's okay to play your offside. I'd really been an advocate that it didn't matter which side they were on, but the last couple of years, I think with the improved speed in our game, it's really made it difficult for guys to be able to control people coming down their offside, and it naturally looks like they should be able to, but it actually opens that middle lane to be able to cut back, and you see some of these guys are so clever at doing it out there that it makes it an easier lane to the net for them.
Speaking of speed, I think a lot of people were blown away by what they saw last night against Finland. A really good structured team, and you guys blew them off the ice. Were you surprised watching that last night?
Well, I would say, yeah, you got to say that you were a little bit surprised. But after watching them in practice and putting this together, seeing the way that the coaches have talked to them about executing with speed, they came through the neutral zone like nothing I've ever seen before. I mean, it's the way we want the game to go, obviously, and I think we're all going to be disappointed when we go back to our teams and our third and fourth line are chipping the puck back in. But these guys all came through the neutral zone. They were able to make plays at top end speed, whether they were throwing it at the net or going for a seam pass. And then, Nick was saying, what about the back pressure that they had? It was just incredible the way that their young legs just made us look great last night.
Paul, you still got to get the puck to the big boys up front, and there's no slouches when it comes to skating on the back end. But if we look back at this tournament, it might be the death of the D to D pass, because it's non-existent. It's just soon as it's on your D, it's up to the forwards.
Yeah, for the most part, I think that's the truth. But we also see that with the skill level and kind of the European flair here, there's a lot of times that we're making those long changes, those European changes where all the forwards go out, they come back, and now they're regrouping, and these guys are hitting them in stride. And when you see that, I don't want to be the defenseman on the other end when they're coming up the ice like that.
Been a great show. Good luck against the Russians tonight, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Paul Fenton, Director of Player Personnel for Team North America. We'll take a short break. Roman Josi of his Nashville Predators on the other side of the break with Scott Oak. There's the Voracek goal that squares the affair. It's the Czechs and Team Europe deadlocked at a goal apiece here in the second intermission. We're back. Shots are 29-14 for Team Europe, but it's 1-1. Here's Roman Josi and Scott Oak.
Roman, your team turned it up a notch in the second period, but with what's at stake here in the third, if you want to get to the semifinals, do you have to open up even more?
No, not open up. We got to keep shooting, and I think we did a pretty good job in the second, getting a lot of chances, getting a lot of shots through, and just keep doing that, and one's going to go in.
I want to show you this hit that you took from Jaskin in the second period. It didn't look like it felt very good.
No, I extended my arm a little bit, trying to make a play, do a reverse, but it's not bad.
Some of your teammates were not in love with the idea of the concept of Team Europe, preferring to play for their own nations as a Swiss player. Are you okay with it?
Yeah, I mean, we're still representing our country in a way. We got our national flag on our shoulders, and we're still playing for Switzerland in a way, and everybody's doing that on our team, and it's been a lot of fun so far.
Thank you, Roman.
Thank you.
Well, you heard it right there. Get more shots at Mrazek. Don't open up too much. But the problem with that is that I thought Mrazek was really good in the first. Thought he was spectacular in the second. And we'll take a look at body of his work here. And guys, most of these saves are remarkable. I mean, the Team Europe had so many fantastic chances right here. What a terrific read by Mrazek. So he was not very sharp in the first pre-tournament game that I watched. And for good reason, the Czechs went to Neuvert. But he's been amazing. I mean, closing up that 5-hole. It's really a shame, though, when he played so well that a little mistake like this, he had to learn a lesson. Forget about your stick at that point. Nice effort by Hansel to give it to him, but he should have called him off. Said, right now, I don't need it. Back away, move out of my way, and make the save.
200 feet away, Halak, just one goal in now 5 periods. Yet, I don't think he has the same type of feel that he had the other night against the U.S. Maybe it's the fact that the Czechs have looked off a couple of key areas of the ice and overpassed.
Elliot, you've got some news here outside of the game today.
Yeah, just a bit of a breaking story that Valery Nichushkin, the young forward from Dallas, is an unsigned player. He's a restricted free agent. It looks like he's going back to Russia. He's going to sign a 2-year deal with CSKA Moscow, and it's not official yet, but we're expecting it to happen.
Wow, that's quite a surprise because a couple of years ago, he seemed like a can't-miss horse for them and a big key to their future.
Take a short break, continue with the third period now. Team Czech Republic trying to get back into this tournament, need to generate something. They just can't seem to buy a goal. 1-1, Jim Houston, Craig Simpson, and the World Cup of Hockey 2016 returns.
Jones and company of Team North America arriving at the Air Canada Centre a moment ago in preparation facing the Russians tonight. Alex Ovechkin almost pulled it out for Team Russia yesterday. He'll be a factor tonight. Jack Eichel and Team North America face their toughest test of the World Cup tonight. Team North America and Russia on Sportsnet. Czech Republic needs Jakub Voracek going in this World Cup. There was ample evidence of that with his goal in the second period. The Voracek of 2 seasons ago with the Philadelphia Flyers, 81 points in 82 games, and he was a first-team All-Star. Then a huge decline to start last season. 1 goal in his first 30 games, a broken foot, and 1 goal in the Flyers' 6-game series with Washington. Voracek recommitted himself over the summer, working out for 2 months in Montreal, and he lost 11 pounds. So he's probably viewing this World Cup as a potential launching pad for a comeback season, Jim.
Well, he's got it started with a pretty big goal for the Czech Republic in the second period that tied this game up 1-1, and the puck is shot over the glass out of the park, and the period had started with the Czechs on a power play, and now it's a 5-on-3. Nakladal's already in the penalty box, and Michael Jordan, delay of game, big opportunity for Europe.
And that look on the head coach's face says it all. Lots of time, no pressure really to think of, just get the puck down, and instead a little bit of an overzealous wrist shot, and here's your game right here if you're Team Europe. Maybe your opportunity, Jim, to get to the semifinal with a win with a goal here.
Minute and 4 seconds with which to work on a 5-on-3. Andrzej Kopitar's on the ice, so is Marian Hossa, Marian Gaborik. Thomas Vanek has the puck right now. Roman Josi's over on the other side. Now they'll begin to close in. Kopitar goes back to the left point. Hossa's in the slot. Vanek down low, threads the puck out. Josi fires, Mrazek makes the save. And there's your most important penalty killer.
Well, this is something that Ralph Kruger has used before when he was a head coach of the Edmonton Oilers. The 2 guys down below the lines, try to pass it down low, bring the 2 defensemen and open up a one-timer, but this is a little late in developing. It wasn't a one-timer, and that stop there by Josi allows Mrazek to get there, get square to the shot, and make an easy save.
So they go back down low again, but the only right-handed shot they've got is down low below the goal line. Both lefties out on top. Vanek tried to feed the puck to the net. It bounced through to Josi. Gaborik. Josi. And Kopitar will switch. Josi walks in, can't shoot. Vanek takes over. Hossa in a battle in front. Kopitar kicks the puck up. Gaborik fed the puck out front. That hit Mrazek. Marian Gaborik with 14 seconds left in the 5-on-3. Here's Kopitar. He shoots and escape. That hurt. Roman Polak's down, trying to get back up on the 5-on-3. Centering pass. Hossa tipped one right on. Loose puck. Kopitar moves in. Josi shoots. Great save by Mrazek. Just as the first penalty to Nakladal expired, it's a 5-on-4. Mrazek may have saved the day.
Oh, what a physical play here by Mrazek, battling in front. Hossa's got 2 chances to get on it. You can see Mrazek lost his stick. The goal that he allowed earlier, he tried to get it back from his teammate Hansel. Here's the delay there by Kopitar, down on one hand, and he actually used his right hand, his blocker hand, to keep his body up enough so that he could get his left glove a piece of that one.
The power play continues. Mark Streit has the puck. Frans Nielsen to the side of the net, Leon Draisaitl. Niederreiter is parked in front of the net. Nielsen refers to Draisaitl. Time ticking away in the second penalty, almost 30 seconds left in it. Matt Zuccarello, straight with his shot, Mrazek with the save. Rebound wasn't cleared because Frans Nielsen blocked it. Nakladal comes after him. And the Czechs are able to clear the puck. There might be one last rush here for Team Europe. What an opportunity. They've had 5 power plays in the game. They missed on a penalty shot while on a power play in the second period, and they're in a 1-1 tie, having outshot the Czechs 34-14. Just can't get another one on Peter Mrazek. And so the penalty to Jordan is over. 1 minute and 4 of 5-on-3, and the Europeans couldn't score. Zuccarello with a shot, he scores! After all those wonderful saves off the glove and in, and Europe has a 2-1 lead.
Boy, what a backbreaker that is, and just takes the life out of that Czech bench after they did a marvelous job of making the big plays, 5-on-3. Zuccarello with speed. Let's have a look. Did anybody get a piece of that? No, that's just a whiff there by Mrazek. A smart play by Zuccarello as he goes by the leg of Roman Polak. But look at the reaction. He twisted his glove in thinking that he had it. Instead, it went off the inside, and boy, after brilliant save after brilliant save by Mrazek, a weak one gives the Europeans a 2-1 lead.
You watch them batting the hatches now.
Team Europe goal.
Mats Zuccarello scored for Team Europe at 2:17. Jaro Halak will get an assist on that goal. And it's a 2-1 lead for Team Europe. Now in the third period, 0-1 in the tournament. The Czechs are really going to have to start thinking about taking some chances.
Mrazek's got to shake that off. Can't allow another mistake. Just keep your team into it. I think he was surprised as everyone. He thought he had that one.
Jannik Hansen trying to keep him thinking by firing a long shot that was blocked. Martin Hansel. Yossi's back. Voracek barged in and took the puck. He's got McCulloch in front of the net. Hansel is there with him as well. Voracek backhanded the puck in. McCulloch goes after it. Gets control and turns back against Seidenberg. Jordan's pass deflected and goes down the ice, and Polak's got to race back. Tatar's right on him. Marian Hossa comes in to try and take the puck. Kopitar's there as well. Hansel. Jake Voracek. Left the puck for his centerman. Nobody anymore wants to chip the puck in and change. It's all control defensively and then change as the Czechs just here. Andre Palat. Andre Schuster. And another board battle. Charles wins a lot of those. And he did that one. Reeder got the puck out by the defender. Schuster got caught. Draisaitl trying to make him pay. And a nice defensive play by Michael Kempny. Reeder follows. He got hit by Palat. From the blue line, Chara on the other side. Sekera's shot knocked down before it got to the net. Sekera's going to get another chance. Slap shot, a rolling puck. That was blocked by Kempny. And the 25-year-old Czech got the puck to center. Chara just about wiped out Palat. Andre saw the lights of the 33 train just in time. And the Czechs moving offside.
The fifth season is when kids dream big. That's why we're a proud sponsor of the World Cup of Hockey, with over 8,000 community teams across Canada.
Jim, it may be a tall task here for the Czechs, but I think they got to double up on their shots right now. They've got 14 to this point, and the way things are going, Halak solid at the other end. I think you have to be thinking 10 to 14 in the next 15 minutes.
I think they got to double up on Hansel's line and double up on Plekanec's line.
Shorten the bench, shorten the bench. Try to get the attack zone going.
Sobotka, Pasternak, Chervinka. The trio on the ice right now. Franz Nielsen for Team Europe. Christian Ehrhoff dumped the puck in. Michael Jordan is back. Zbynek McCulloch starting out of his own zone up the middle. Here's Hansel. Makes the pass on the left wing. Chervinka waiting into the middle. Hansel whacked at the puck and he knocked it into the corner. McCulloch is in deep and got caught. Belmar to center. Roman Josi, defenseman, jumps up with some speed. Poke check by Kempny at the last moment. Voracek won a battle from Belmar, and now he starts up the ice. Onto the left wing, Milan McCulloch. Seidenberg just wiped out Voracek. Now Voracek has the puck. Shielding the puck from Roman Josi. He sends it back in. Hansel. Check there by Belmar. And the Europeans are out to center. Josi has Hansen streaking to the net. There's the pass from Vanek. And that didn't get through the defense. Voracek is tripped. There'll be a penalty on the play. Great opportunity coming up here for the Czech Republic. They'll go to the power play, trailing 2-1. And they pull the goaltender for the extra penalty.
A terrible penalty by Vanek, too. 160 feet from your own net, and really just a nothing play.
Tripping call. And now Vanek, who's already on the bench, knows immediately he's got to go over the boards to the other side of the ice. A vital power play for the Czech Republic. Coming up on the World Cup of Hockey. Likely shot after great chances before that.
Yeah, so many close calls. A penalty shot that Mrazek calmly stopped down, got a help from the goalpost. Desperation save in the 5-on-3, and then when everybody relaxed, thought that the game was just going to continue on after the big kill, Matt Zuccarello puts one in. It's a cruel game at times.
But now Vanek is off, and the Czechs are on a power play to try and tie this up again. Jake Voracek, who has their goal. Nakladel with his shot, didn't get the A shot away. And Kopitar got a block. Marian Hossa has the puck. Again, it's Hossa, Kopitar, Chara, Sekera charged with trying to kill this off. Voracek has Plekanec with him. Milan McCulloch, who takes over right now. Andre Palat's in the slot, a pass, ricochets. Voracek shoots, the save by Halak, and the rebound went to the corner. Thomas Plekanec. Voracek takes another shot. Halak made another save. McCulloch screening in front. Here's Voracek again. Managed to get the puck over to Jake Nakladel. Voracek won't be able to shoot. Plekanec with a screen. His shot didn't get through. Chara blocked that. Power play's changing up. Voracek is staying. Sees the changes on, so he played the puck back to Sabotka. Nakladel is chased back into his own zone by Jannik Hansen. 45 precious seconds left in the power play for the Czech Republic, trailing 2-1 in the game. Roman Cervenka, Aleš Himski, Vladimir Sabotka. Cervenka plays the puck across. Nakladel's shot. And a nice save by Jaro Halak. Sabotka. Cervenka takes a shot. Halak got a piece of that as Hansel tried to tip it. And Hansel's a preoccupation in front of the net. Here's Jacob Nakladel again. Aleš Himski starts to walk in, passes back. Sabotka shoots a deflection wide. Hansel scores! With 11 seconds left in the power play, Karam off the end boards is buried by Martin Hansel. 2-2.
Well, the longest skate is for Thomas Vanek from the penalty box out. The Czechs had a couple of chances. Puck bounces off a few skates, but watch Halak. Good reaction there. He's in great position. Lots of traffic in front, and it ends up being the difference. Hansel gets a piece of that one off the helmet of Halak, and this one, another deflection off the skate. Halak down and a heads-up play by Hansel. That one was blocked out high by Belmar, and here's the official right on top of it as Hansel puts it up and over a sprawling Halak.
Austrian Thomas Vanek sees the game tied up. On the third Czech power play of the game, they're 1 for 3. And the game is tied 2-2. Here's Franz Nielsen back the other way. He was 1 on 4 and got tackled. But he has the puck again. Zuccarello lost control on the blue line. Sekera couldn't hold the puck in, and he's caught. In comes Jaskin with a shot. Halak makes the save. A 2-on-1, and there haven't been many of those in the game. Dmitry Jaskin and Michael Frolik had it.
Well, good effort at the offensive blue line, keeping the puck in, but it almost cost him. Sekera makes a play, but he can't control a bouncing puck. And this is one where Chara just trusts his goaltender. Look at the read by Zdeno Chara. Stayed in the middle, leave the shooter to the goalie, make sure that there's no easy tap-in cross-seam pass.
Hansel, the goal scorer, comes back on. Roman Josi up the boards. Ralph Kruger didn't want to play Anze Kopitar as much today, but I think he's going to have to. That would be net off.
When you look at that penalty kill, they did a pretty solid job for the fact that Kruger has the option early on. You had Marian Hossa and Anze Kopitar up front, Chara and Sekera on the back. They almost made it through, but that last bounce off of Dasher. And that was one where Belmar almost got a piece of it, Jim. He ended up, the deflection that he made on the block ended up the reason why the puck went off the back and got back onto the stick of Hansel.
Yeah, if it didn't hit him, it probably went right to Halak. Although Hansel was right there, he might have had a chance to deflect it himself. But a little bit of bad luck for Jarl Halak.
Be interesting to see what Kruger does with Vanek. I mean, those are the kind of little mistakes, just a really bad penalty at the worst possible time that has tied this game up.
Kopitar had to come right back on after going off to win that face-off against Hansel. Puck comes to center and is shot right back in by Jarl Halak. Thomas Tatar up against Hansel, who keeps the puck in for the Czechs. Protects the puck, tried to make a pass. Roman Josi is there for Team Europe. Hansel will shoot the puck back in. Dennis Seidenberg is back. Here comes Voracek right on it. Flushed him out, straight up the middle. Seidenberg got by McCulloch. They made an errant pass to Hossa, but the puck gets in deep. Kopitar got to it first. Turns back, the centering pass for Hossa. Turned away. Oh, the puck got up into the face of Jake Voracek on that shot by Christian Ehrhoff. It ran up Voracek's stick. And he's up and headed back for the bench, and he'll meet the trainer halfway.
Well, it's one of those plays you're just anxiously making sure you get your stick in there, but the puck came up him right in the jaw, it looked like, as it went up and underneath. Good heads-up play by the official. Kelly Sutherland right there, and might as well blow the whistle. He's down.
He's not bleeding. I think he's fine. He's just mad, and I think he'll be back.
You saw all the traffic in front of the net, though. That's a big block there, as not much vision for Mrazek if that got through.
Europeans win the draw. Strike took a shot that was blocked. The Cannons can't clear the puck. Nielsen kept it in. Draisaitl, Nielsen shot. Didn't get through to the net. Quick out to center. Andre Palat. Look at Draisaitl back check. Caught him and got the puck in his own zone. Draisaitl playing with Franz Nielsen and Nino Niederreiter. And they get the puck to center. Ralph Kruger shortened his bench a little bit here in the third period, it appears. Andre Schuster, rink wide. Cervenka knocked the puck down. Now he goes after it. He's got Sobotka and Frolik with him. Over comes Chara, and he smothers that situation. And wins the battle. Sekera to center. Quickly onto the puck is the speedy Dane, Jannik Hansen into the middle. Vanek missed the pass. Sekera, Chara shoots, tipped in front. What a save by Peter Mrazek. Wonderful save on Vanek after the puck was knocked down in front with his right leg.
There was Vanek's chance for redemption, and
was it ever?
What an effort physically by Mrazek to somehow get the leg there.
That keeps this tied up 2-2. Roman Cervenka out to center. Here comes Roman Polak. He fires a shot. Halak makes the save. Hansel on the rebound. Couldn't get a good shot away. The caller. Jordan holds the puck in for the Czechs. Voracek is back in action. Sekera up the boards to Franz Nielsen. He gets the puck to center. Here's Zuccarello. The drop pass. Roman Josi centering. Bounce to the net. And a tough deflection, and Mrazek made the save, and there's a penalty coming up, and it's going to be against Voracek, I think, on Zuccarello in front.
That's a bad penalty by Voracek, too. That's a play at the net. He's going to argue that Zuccarello should be getting it, but Zuccarello went in there and tried to avoid Mrazek, and just over-aggressive.
Jake Voracek to the net. Crosscheck gets him a penalty, gets the Europeans a power play with a chance to go ahead. Tough few minutes for Jake Voracek, still smarting from getting a puck in the mouth that made him really angry, and nothing good comes of being an angry young man.
No, he kind of dodges a bullet there, but he's frustrated the fact that the puck hit him. He's not happy whether he's yelling at the official, thought maybe there should have been a call, and this is just an overreaction. You see a 2-2 hockey game, your team is still got life, and now you give Europe a chance to take the lead.
They're 0 for 5 on the power play, and they go to work for the 6th time in the game. Moving in is Anze Kopitar. Hossa centering pass. Didn't get the man in front. That was Thomas Tatar. Vanek. Cross ice pass. Hossa. Roman Josi. Marian Hossa delays. He's got Gaborik parked in front of the net. He's got Vanek in the slot. Kopitar over on the left side. Josi to Hossa. Takes the shot. And Peter Mrazek could see that all the way.
I just don't like the setup here for the Europeans. I've mentioned it a few times. The only righty is Vanek. He's not even available for a one-timer. He's in the middle there. And now as the shot, Gaborik is thinking pass. So he goes down and gets a stick on the ice and totally vacates the front of the net. That's an easy save for Mrazek.
Thomas Plekanec killing the penalty, trying to win the draw. Kopitar got it. Good pressure here from Nakladel, and Plekanec out with Palat, and Schuster killing the penalty. Josi from the blue line has to get to his forehand. Vanek, one-timer that went off the leg of Palat and wide of the net. Hossa can't control the puck. Nakladel lifts it in the air down the ice.
That's a wasted shot by Vanek there too. Just a feeble effort with nobody in front. Fortunate to get control of the puck again.
Roman Josi. Hard around. Sobotka stepped in front of Kopitar. And the puck squirts loose to Schuster. Out comes Michael Frolik trying to break away. Josi trying to catch him. A wild slap shot into the corner. And the Europeans come back the other way with numbers 3-on-2. Niederreiter off the bench. Vanek's in front. The pass didn't get through, and Frolik clears the puck.
Jim, one of the most dangerous shots there, shorthanded or any time, is that high wide around the glass. It ends up trapping Frolik actually, and creates an odd man rush the other way.
The drop back. Franz Nielsen with speed turned back, and the puck's outside the line with under 20 seconds to go in this power play. The 6th for Team Europe. They're 10th, and they haven't scored in the tournament. Franz Nielsen stopped up, and in front there's going to be a penalty, and it'll be against Team Europe. There's a trip because Zbynek McCulloch was taken down in front of the net, and the power play will go the other way.
Matt Zuccarello, who drew the other one, ends up taking this one. Boy, both coaches must just be shaking their head at the last couple of plays. Cutting to the net, keep an eye here, just foot on foot. McCulloch goes down, Zuccarello still arguing his case as well. So what a turn of events here. Both teams feeling like they've been given a couple of gifts to end this game, and now ball's back in the Czechs' court.
In 7 seconds, the Czechs will go onto the power play, and they'll be on the power play for the 4th time. They have scored once. Martin Hansel's goal was a power play goal. Europeans win the draw and take their time here. And back on comes Jake Voracek, and he'll stay on the ice on the power play. A chance for the Czechs to go ahead with a man advantage. Their turn. Nakladel, he's been the one constant on the power play, seems to stay for the full 2 minutes. Right shooting defenseman. Got the puck to the blue line and bounces around there. Here's Jannik Hansen shorthanded. The forward is back, and he rips a shot wide. And Voracek, the only man back, a forward. Now the drop back. Here's Jake Voracek with a head of steam. He got by Hossa, who lost his stick. It broke in half. There's Plekanec, a defender without his stick. Voracek closes in and shoots, and Yaroslav Halak made the save, knowing he needed to stop playing.
Well, Voracek's frustrated with himself right now, and I think, Jim, what he didn't realize was with the broken stick, you've got a chance now to take advantage of Hossa. Hossa breaks it with a little slash there. So instead of trying to work a one-timer around Hossa, he just rushes it too quickly. He takes a shot through traffic there. Halak's able to hold on, and I think the collective group says you should have maybe tried to get it to that side and get a one-timer where Hossa can't get in the passing lane.
This is the power play unit that scored. Centered by Hansel. He won the draw. Hemsky, big shot just wide of the net from Schuster, who's come on. Sobotka. Hemsky. Works the puck back. Schuster again. Fires a shot. Fearlessly blocked by Belmar. Schuster again. Moves in on Belmar on the other side. Sobotka. Schuster. Hemsky fires a shot. Halak the save. Rebound. Hansel had a whack at it. The puck ended up in the corner. Schuster knocks it down. Keeps the puck in for the Czechs only for a moment. Good play by Pierre-Edouard Belmar to work the puck to center. And to kill some time.
Think about it. Think about it.
Now down to 20 seconds in the power play. In come the Czechs again. Cervenka. Hemsky. Schuster's back at the blue line. He takes the pass. side of the net. Roman Cervenka, Schuster, one-timer. Halak makes the save and stops play with 4 seconds left in Zuccarello's penalty.
Oh, this is the time where you expected the Czechs to start putting everything to the net, and they have. Lots of traffic in front of Halak. There's a little bit of a tip there by Hansel, who scored the tying goal earlier on. Another play back to the point that Halak, what he's done very well is through traffic been able to find it and get a hold of it and get the face-off.
Kopitar can win a draw, that'll do it. Zuccarello will be back on, but the Czechs get the face-off. Michael Jordan, as the penalty ends, his shot was blocked by Dennis Seidenberg. Zuccarello's out and he's chasing the puck. Zbynek McCulloch knew he was coming, so he got back. 5-on-5 with under 4 minutes to go. 2-2 tie, the Czechs and the Europeans. Here's Michael Frolik, cuts to the net. Halak with a wonderful save on Michael Frolik. Still 2-2. The Czechs need the win. They're 0-1 in the tournament. The Europeans with a chance to almost seal an appearance in the semifinal if they can win this game. If regulation ends 2-2 as Gaborik takes a shot, it's NHL rules. 3-on-3, sudden death overtime, and a shootout if necessary. Here's Roman Polak. The center, did he get to center before he dumped it in? Nope. Icing against the Czech Republic.
Well, as expected, you think that everything towards the net, that all of a sudden is the 11th shot since we talked of trying to get 14. This is the timing for Hossa. He just got his stick into the hands of Frolik just a little bit. But I don't think Frolik got the shot that he wanted. Look at the effort of Hossa just getting it in there. If he had held it for another split second, he might have been able to draw the goalie across and find some open net.
It's Thomas Plekanec and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare in the face-off circle, and a scrambled draw won by the Czechs. Kempny has the puck. Palat at center. It's Plekanec coming up with some speed. 1-on-4. He hooks the shot wide of the net. McCulloch holds the puck in. Plekanec intercepted by Bellemare to Roman Josi. Good aggressive play by Voracek to keep the puck in. Trying to get control against Seidenberg. Barges through on the boards. Hansel helps him out. McCulloch. Voracek's in front. Hansel shoots. Halak the save. Rebound goes to Jannik Hansen. Off the boards. Naglado won't let the puck out. Seidenberg under pressure. Knocked down by Voracek. Voracek, Hansel, McCulloch attack the net. Voracek went down, and out come the Europeans. They're 3-on-2. Vanek missed his pass into the middle of the ice. Trying to hit Bellemere's very late in his shift. So is Hansel, who dumps the puck in from center. Whoa! Halak couldn't field that infield fly. Zbynek McCulloch. Michael Jordan quickly back the other way. The tip in on Halak. Zdeno Chara is back. He gave the puck away. It's Frolik who intercepted and held it in. Defensive play made by Leon Draisaitl to get the puck out for the Europeans. Under 2 minutes in regulation. Michael Jordan. Off the boards to center. Hemsky can't handle the puck. Josi just sends it the other way. Game so much more important to the Czechs than the Europeans. They desperately need a victory. But nobody wants to make the mistake that ends this in regulation. Into the middle. Here's Hemsky. He lost the handle before he could shoot. Zuccarello with an area pass. He wanted Gaborik to race out of that. Roman Polak is back. Pass up the middle was blocked by Zuccarello. He won't let Kempny clear the puck. Michael Kempny tries the other side. Tracking of the puck is Hemsky, and he got it out in the last minute of the third period of a 2-2 tie. Frans Nielsen to Zuccarello. The tip in is over the glass and out of play. Just outside the Air Canada Centre, between here and the Sport Chek store, there's Corey Perry. He hopes to be on the throne of hockey for Team Canada. You can take to that throne of hockey sticks, courtesy of Sport Chek, and get your picture taken just outside the Air Canada Centre. Canadians not in action today, back in at it against the Americans tomorrow in the late game. And like the Czechs, the USA desperately needs a win. Bellemare with a shot that went wide of the net. After a deflection, and Jordan clears the puck down the ice. This is an icing call, and that might just bring Anze Kopitar onto the ice for the draw. He was already there. He was there with Bellemare as the second center, and he'll take the draw.
Well, Jim, all things considered, a pretty good pushback here for the Czechs to keep the pressure of this game. The latter part, they've been spending it in the European zone after that penalty kill, 5-on-3, a bad goal against. They rally on the power play, and now looking for one more goal.
A regulation win can be valuable in the tiebreaker. But if this game is tied in 30 seconds, it goes to 3-on-3, sudden death overtime. Europeans to center, Martin Hanzal. Jake Voracek to the open side. Dennis Seidenberg jumps over to get the puck. He'll fire it down the ice. A long one on Mrazek is wide, and there's still a dozen seconds left.
Yeah, just a little overreaction there for Seidenberg. I'm not sure whether misread the clock or not. He's having a talk with Yossi, his partner now. Look at all the room. Maybe he thought that his forward up there would give it a little bit of a tip, but Hossa missed it. But remember this moment if the Czechs are able to score off the faceoff.
And this is not on Kopitar's strong side, although he's a wonderful faceoff man. He's up against Thomas Plekanec. Big draw with a dozen seconds to go. Czechs get it on a scramble. McLaughlin, Schuster shoots, and Halak makes the save, and there's still 5 seconds left.
Well, if I'm Dennis Seidenberg, I go to my goaltender, Halak, give him a little tap, because I've mentioned throughout this game Halak's ability to control the rebounds and not as much traffic in front. Look at the traffic is a little late getting there, and Halak makes darn sure that he absorbs that into his chest and holds on and gets a face-off on the strong side for Anze Kopitar, who's 54% in the face-off dot.
Plekanec has Nakladel lined up behind him as a shooter if he can win the draw back. Kopitar wins it. Sekera blasts the puck around to the boards. And this game is headed to sudden death overtime. It's a very valuable point for the Europeans as they have their third of this tournament. The Czechs need to get another one in overtime next. The Europeans have a valuable point. They now have 3. The Czech Republic get their first, and here's how we got here.
Well, right on the doorstep, shots coming from Mrazek getting his stick from Hanzal, and Chara puts it in the back of the net. Jake Voracek on a bouncing puck puts a perfect shot off the post and in. Matt Zuccarello with a surprise shot that Mrazek couldn't handle, and that looked like it might be enough for Team Europe, but off of the power play, Bouncing puck off the back end, and Martin Hansel is the reason why we're in overtime.
Won't confuse you with all the permutations of the tiebreakers here, but suffice to say, a win in overtime is more valuable than a win in a shootout because of all of the tie-breaking situations. It's a big point for the Czechs, but they could use another in overtime. Roman Josi, 3-on-3, as Hossa and Kopitar with him, Thomas Plekanec, Jake Voracek. Jacob Nakladel has become a very important player for this Czech team on the ice now. With some speed, here comes Kopitar. Can't cut to the net, he's taken down, no penalty called. Dangerous play as Kopitar hit the boards hard, but he's okay. Voracek, one-on-one, he's got no help. Here comes Plekanec to join him. Voracek to the net, to Plekanec. Pass was just behind him. Now a chance for Hossa. One man back, now two. His teammates are changing. He's on his own here against Andre Schuster, and he delays enough to get some help. Franz Nielsen has joined him. So is Andrej Sekera. Hossa changes off the bench. Gaborik shoots. Mrazek makes the save.
Well, some anxious moments at each end for different reasons. The European team thinks maybe we got a chance to score here, but Anze Kopitar dangerously going into the boards. He does a heck of a job of getting up quickly and absorbing that. And watch as the play goes hard to the net here. Thomas Plekanec, worried about getting back, continues on to go and curl the other way. Had he stopped up there, Jim, he might have had a tap in with a wide open net.
Zbynek McCulloch. Deep in his own zone, he's got Sabatka with him. And Michael Frolik, who has the puck and has some room, and he comes on Andrej Sekera. The drop pass, Sabatka shoots! And Halak makes the save.
Well, so often you just try to create odd man rushes here. Whether it's a defenseman jumping up or like this, crisscross. You got two forwards in this case, and Sabatka just trying to find the open ice. Nice interchange by the European defense, though. Sekera closing the gap, and Halak, like he's done most of the night, just holding on, and another key face-off here for the youngster Draisaitl.
Now it's Martin Hansel out on the ice. Kempny and McCulloch with him, two forwards and a defender. Draisaitl. Mark Streit, pestered by McCulloch, pushed down by McCulloch. Hansel gets to the puck. Spins away from Draisaitl on the outside. McCulloch fights to the inside in front of the net. Back on the blue line is Michael Kempny. He takes the pass and dumps the puck back in. Streit and McCulloch battle again. Kempny in from the blue line. McCulloch goes to the front of the net. That's where the puck is, off Halak. Breaking out is Zuccarello. Breakaway pass. Leon Draisaitl scores! And the Europeans, the vagabonds from 8 different countries, put together for this tournament, have done it again.
Jim, so often in 3-on-3, a missed chance at one end opens up that odd man rush I'm talking about. And what a heads-up play by Leon Draisaitl. He's a developing young star in the National Hockey League. Much was made of his benching in Game 2 of the exhibition, and then his hat-trick the next night. Watch the read here. He sees that the rebound's out high. Zuccarello gets his feet moving. Perfect pass, and no hesitation. Stick side. That 14 inches, almost impossible for Halak, how quickly he gets it. Kelly Sutherland following the play down the ice perfectly in frame. And look at how deep Halak was there, standing still, no hesitation by Mrazek, sorry.
Leon Draisaitl gets the goal. The Europeans have a win in overtime. They have 4 points. The Czechs get a point in the loss. They're not out of it, but now they need help in a big way.
And there's Kempny just in desperation trying to get there, almost able to get it as he dove there. But credit Draisaitl keeping his legs going.
Our play of the game for Advil, and it's worth another look.
Listen to the talk, the rebound there. Halak will get another assist after his second of the game, and what a shot there by Leon Draisaitl to give Europe their second win.
Leon Draisaitl gives Team Europe the win 3-2 in overtime at 3-on-3. And here's our 3 stars for Molson Canadian. Peter Mrazek had a wonderful game. He won't think so. Leon Draisaitl with the overtime winner, and Roman Josi is the pillar on the defense for Team Europe. A big win for Team Europe, and here's Ron MacLean.